ユベントス FC のグローバルブランディングとアジアでのビジネス成長に進ませていただきます。
Okay, in this session, I'm honored to sit in with Mr. Federico Palomba, APAC Managing Director of Juventus FC, to hear about the club's branding and business expansion globally. Mr. Palomba, maybe I could give you the stage so you could introduce yourself a little bit, please.
Konnichiwa. Hello, everyone. So my name is Federico Palomba. I'm Managing Director for Asia Pacific for the club. I've been working at Juventus for about 12 years, starting implementing the digital and media platform. And then I became Chief Revenue Officer. And then about 5 years ago, the club felt the need to start operations in Asia. And because of my huge love for this part of the world, I asked to be the one to move over here and starting the operation, opening the office, etc., etc. So basically what we do over here is trying to basically three things. So the first one is being closer to our stakeholders. That's very important. We have many stakeholders over here. Of course, first and foremost, our fans. Later, I will give you some numbers and some figures to give you an idea about the size and the huge quantity of fans that we have in Asia. And the second thing is, and other stakeholders are our partners, either local Asian partners or global partners interested in Asia, the media, the institutions, local governments, so many stakeholders. And so we need to be very proactive and try to have a deep relationship with those stakeholders. The second goal that we have and reason why we are here is to grow our brand, winning new fans and getting more exposure. And then, of course, we need to be sustainable, and so we also try to generate new business and new revenue streams for the club. So this is what we do, basically.
Thank you. Maybe you have a quick video to show?
I think today I would like to, this is a gathering of the best of the best in the sports industry in Japan, I think. So I guess you know quite well Juventus on a sporting standpoint. So today I would like to introduce you our company on a business and branding standpoint, right? So to break the ice, I would like to show you a video to get in the right mood, maybe, yeah?
First things first, I'ma say all the words inside my head. I'm fired up and tired of the way that things have been. Oh, ooh, the way that things have been. Oh, ooh. Hey, you make me a believer, believer. Hey, you make me a believer, believer. Let the bullets fly, let them rain. My life, my love, my drive, it came from. Hey, you make me a believer, believer. Hey, you make me a believer, believer.
All right. So as you can see from the video, it's clear that Juventus is a football club. Our core business is football. Our mission is trying to compete to win the most important domestic and international competitions. But our club is not just about football, and I will explain you why and how.
Thank you. The video itself was already cool, and I think you did the rebranding in 2017. And I know it's not easy to do that, especially with a longer history and tradition. What kind of impact did that rebranding have on your business so far? Especially considering that you have, the video already showed the diversification of assets you have. I think it's fashion, healthcare, and tourism. What kind of impact had that rebranding occur so far?
Yeah, so you mentioned two very important things. So we had at a certain point to find the right balance between our history, our heritage, the history of our owners, of the family who owns Juventus, and innovation. We think that we are quite innovative, disruptive, or we want to be innovative, disruptive, and bold company and brand. And so we had to, combine story and heritage and innovation. I just want to give you a brief information about our company and our holding company and our owners. So maybe, yeah, okay, we have it there. So Juventus is a public company listed at the Milan Stock Exchange. The majority of the club is owned by the holding called Exor, owned by one of the most prestigious Italian and European family, the Agnelli family. The holding is involved in many different business, especially automotive. You can see prestigious brands like Ferrari, like Maserati, other Italian car brands like Fiat, Alfa Romeo, French brands and American car brands. And then a lot of different industries or categories are covered. It is interesting to mention also that Juventus ownership is the longest ownership in the whole sports industry. This year, 2023, we are celebrating a century of ownership, which you know how football industry is going. My colleagues before mentioned these, many things are happening, clubs are changing ownership every now and then, and for us having the same important family owning and leading the club for 100 years means that the club is a very stable and professional organization, and that's very important for us as well as for our fans, for our partners and business partners, for example. So you mentioned the rebranding. So here you can see all the Juventus logo over the years. Juventus was founded in 1897, so 125 years of history and a few different logos and badges. But in 2017, we decided to do something totally different. The idea was having a logo and a brand able to speak to a broader audience, not just only to our fans, and contemporary, and a logo that could bring us into a more lifestyle and entertaining dimension. In fact, I will show you another video in a while, but the idea, our branding strategy that we started in 2017 is not just about the logo, clearly, but we really wanted to transform the club from a football club, from just a football club, into an entertainment company. So we wanted, and we still want to go beyond football. So I give you, if you can show the video, maybe I can give you just an idea about what I'm saying. So beyond football, we said, and the marketing strategy is under an umbrella that we call black and white and more, where more stands for many different possible applications, whether it is music or design or fashion or healthcare or tourism. So many possible fields that we would like to touch. We do that for 3 reasons mainly. So we want to grow internationally, so we need to be more significant to a broader audience. We need to get in touch with a different audience, not only Juventus hardcore fans, let me say, or football hardcore fans. Someone asked a similar question before, but you know, it is very important to keep having traction with the younger generation, with the Gen Z. So nowadays, I think a football club is competing not just among other football clubs against Bayern Munich or Manchester City or Barcelona or whatever, but we are competing with, you know, video games, with Netflix, with music, with this and that. And so we need to, you know, try to be significant for our fans or potential fans or enthusiasts beyond the 90 minutes of a football match. So that's pretty much the idea. There are some of the mores in which we invested a lot, especially music. We think that that's a very good combination. We have partnering with some global, very famous electronic music festivals, for example, international DJs who came over our stadium to play, and it's part of our strategy for Asia as well to implement this kind of marketing approach. We couldn't do this because of the pandemic, of course, but now it's time. Now it's time to do that in Asia and in Japan as well. We tried to invest not only in marketing and branding, but also in something real and concrete, like facilities. So over the last 10 years, we have been building facilities. Some of them are very, of course, very football related. We opened our new stadium, the Allianz Stadium, in 2011. The museum, the mega store, those are, you know, normal facilities for a football club, even though our state-of-the-art facilities. But then we tried to do something different. So we opened, for example, the Juventus Medical, which is a medical center open to the general public with a focus on sports medicine, you know, rehab, etc., etc. But people, you know, the men of the street can be visited by one of the 60 doctors, specialists who are looking after our players. So I think that's a very unique selling proposition in the healthcare sector. It is working very, very well. And we are thinking to replicate this model not only in other cities in Italy, but also abroad. We have opened our hotel, the J Hotel. An initiative I'm very proud of is the Juventus College. We are talking a lot about ESG. Juventus College is a school divided into 2 parts. One part is for our youth players, so kids from 14 to 18 years old. So we thought that we really had to provide our young youth players with an education. I totally agree with what my colleague said before. Just 1 or 2% of the youth players can make it as a pro. So we thought that we had to give them we have to give to these kids an education, because you know, if they cannot make it, at least they will have an education to have a nice future in life. And so at the Juventus College, those kids can train, play, study, and live and sleep. So it's a quite important initiatives also in terms of ESG, I think. And the other part of the school is a common international school open to any kid.
Thank you. Very impressive. This happened recently, or it has been an investment for several years? I
It
think.
took more than 2 years to have all of these. Some initiatives are more recent, like the hotel. We opened it about 4 years ago, 5 years ago. The stadium is older. The Juventus Medical is in between. Of course, it's a journey.
Right.
It's something that you cannot do overnight, right? And we are still trying to improve it and also adding more projects and initiatives.
Right. And then you mentioned that this should be done not only locally but internationally.
Yeah. What we are witnessing, especially being here and having many quite interesting business network in Asia, in different countries in Asia, is that there are different players that would be interested in replicating maybe not the whole model, but some of these having some of these facilities in their countries.
Right. And part of that, you opened the APAC office in 2019, and it was probably the most challenging time to do that. Despite that, what kind of notable achievements, in your opinion, have you had in Asia so far?
Yeah, I think so. First and foremost, as you can see, Juventus, according to Nielsen, has more than 500 million fans all over the world, and half of them are in Asia, right? So there is a strong and solid reason why we are here, of course. We started in 2019, of course, then the COVID happened, but I have to say that achievement, we have a lot, honestly. But thanks to, first and foremost, I would say, thanks to, the energy that you can find in Asia, even during the pandemic. Probably making business in Europe would have been way more difficult than it has been here in Asia. So it's an incredible, vibrant continent, part of the world region, call it however you say. So of course it wasn't easy, but not impossible. So we can mention some things. I'm very proud because we have now we have now 7 Asian partners. We could renew and we are renewing, no matter the pandemic, our partnership with many of them. We have one of our main partners that is a Japanese company, our back jersey partner. We have been opening important football academy, one of them in Bali, which will be a massive facility in order to attract tourists and local kids from all over Asia. So many things, honestly. But I think the most important achievement, which I think goes beyond business, is, at least for me, learning a lot about this part of the world, understanding the way people and sports enthusiasts here approach football, what companies and potential partners need from us, and trying to transfer what I'm learning to the club in order to shape a better global and Asian strategy.
It's a lot, and you have been successful. Why do you think the club appeals to the Asian fans?
Well, I think Juventus has some unique characteristics. Of course, history and heritage are important. We have a winning tradition. Many football stars, huge football stars, played at Juventus. Many of them are very much loved in Asia. I can mention one that is still super popular in Japan, like Roberto Baggio, for example, right? So an iconic player in Japan. I think that being Italian sometimes helps. So we like to define ourselves as an Italian icon. We are the #1 Italian brand on the social media. We are bigger than Gucci or Prada or Ferrari or Lamborghini, so we are very proud about that. But Italianity in a right way could be a good enabler for business and for getting fans and beloved. There is also an historical reason why we are very popular in some Asian countries. And so in the 90s, Serie A was basically the only Serie A is the Italian league, right? So it was the only European league broadcasted in Asia, in China, in Indonesia. I'm not sure about Japan. So you have a generation, I would say not the Gen Z, but generation people our age that are very much attached to Italian football. They grew up with Italian football, and in the 90s Italian football was by far the best in the world, and Juventus was at the top, like every decade, so nothing new. But so this is another reason why. And also, sorry, I think our brand and marketing strategy global is fitting quite well for Asia. So what I'm learning and in my understanding here in Asia, you guys have a very competitive entertainment industry. The offer is huge, is very sophisticated. And so probably being able to offer something more and beyond football, it is helping.
I was going to ask that part, but could you elaborate a little bit on some specific strategies and initiatives that you're implementing in Asia?
Yes, for sure. So I think there are different levels, and you have different stakeholders. One thing that we like to do a lot is trying to cooperate with local institutions, whether they are local government, or in order to help them to develop football. So this is something that you guys don't need in Japan. Because your football industry is really at the top globally, but other countries, they really need, not necessarily our help in terms of Juventus, but somebody sharing experience and skills. For example, talking about youth football, talking about how to coach the coaches, the local coaches, trying to improving their level as coaches. So this is something very, very, very important. We try to be quite active now that the pandemic is over. We are trying to be quite active in local activations, branding activation, events. We try to involve local fans and sports enthusiasts as much as we can. We recently organized a very successful event in Indonesia. We did one in Hong Kong. We are doing one hopefully in Japan in the next few months. China is on the schedule. So, we try to somehow to give back all the love and passion that we receive by the fans and by the local community.
Could you, I think that was the broad view of the Asian market that you're tackling right now. And when we say Asia, it's really big. Yeah. Could you narrow it down maybe to discuss your strategy specifically for Japan?
Yeah. So first and foremost, I have to say that... sorry. Sorry, let's have a look. That's a video of our recent event in Jakarta. If you guys want to have a look, I think it's quite, it's a good example of...
Yeah, let's do that first then. And then we could ask you about the Japanese market strategy again.
So video or first?
Video first, and then, yeah.
Okay. just an example. Yeah,
That was in Jakarta.
Jakarta. Yeah,
Could
Jakarta.
you,
a few months
could you
ago.
explain it? It looked massive. Could you
Yeah, it
explain a
looked
little bit
massive.
about it?
We had more than 5,000 registered visitors, 2,000 people watching the game with us. You know, a viewing party in the night, quite late in the night. So you know, when you see this enthusiasm, you feel really blessed in doing this job and working for a football club and a brand like Juventus.
And how did you do? They had partners to set that up, and the planning and everything that was through a collaboration with your partners.
Yeah, collaboration with our partners, with local partners. I have to say also, you know, we have a beautiful team of people working with me in Hong Kong. 2 of them spent about 10 days in Jakarta during the Chinese New Year, and you know how much is important Chinese New Year for Chinese people, so it's the best period for them to do the vacation, but they are very devoted and they spent the time in preparation of the event. So of course you need to join forces exactly with partners, with local partners, local agencies. So yeah, it has been quite an effort, but it totally worth it.
So it's been clear that you and your club or brand has been very successful in the region. Now, would you be able to? Now, I think you're trying to think about the Japanese market.
Yeah.
Could you discuss maybe or share a little bit about your plans or strategies for Japan specifically?
So Japan is a totally different country compared to any other country in Asia. The first reason is I like to define, you know, the countries in terms of football, and I think that you have 3 kinds of countries, right? One kind of country is like, you know, countries that consume football but cannot produce football. So like in many cases of Asian countries, you have massive audiences, people love football, maybe they are starting playing football at a certain level, but there is no ecosystem around the game, right? I don't want to name the countries, but you can imagine. There are countries that are, on the other end, producing football, but they are not able to, you know, to create anything around it, like South America or certain countries in Africa. And then you have countries that can do both, so producing and consuming, like many European countries, and Japan. So I think Japan, in this sense, is very unique, which makes a little bit more difficult for us to be especially commercially successful over here, because the local competition is tough. It's tough because you know, your clubs are very good, the league is very healthy, very well managed, the national team is very competitive at the highest level. You have many local footballers that are stars and can play in the best European teams. So that makes life a little bit hard for us. But on the other end, there are a lot of opportunities. So based on our data, we know that we have around 11 million fans. 2.5 million of them are hardcore Juventus fans in Japan. We have 2 official fan clubs. We have an academy. So, I mean, there are all the conditions to do very well. But you cannot improvise in Japan. You guys are very sophisticated culture, big attention to the details, thing that we Italian don't have. So you know, we need to work hard. We cannot improvise. We need the proper strategy. That's why this is the reason why, combined with the pandemic, we had to wait a bit before starting, you know, tackling Japan. This is the very first official, and thank you for inviting us, initiative that we are having here. Many other will follow, but of course we need to do things seriously over here. Yeah.
Speaking of others would follow, other Italian clubs are also working to get to the Japanese fans. For example, Roma or Inter, they come to Japan. how do you differentiate and make Japanese fan?
Well, I think, let me be a little bit arrogant now. So I think, first of all, we are the only Italian club with operations in Asia. And yeah, okay, we are not in Japan, but we are as close as we can be in Japan. And of course, it's closer than Roma or Milano or whatever other city. And this is not just a matter of proximity, but also it's very important to better understand, as I said before, your culture, your needs, etc., etc. Second thing, I think that we have, in terms of company, club, business strategy, branding strategy, story, ranking, UEFA ranking, palmarès, whatever, we are bigger and better than our Italian competitors. So question is easy, but I think I would love to have more Italian competition in Asia. I would love to have more Italian clubs being active in Asia, because this would help Italian football as a whole. So competition is good. Competition is always good. So this wouldn't be a problem for us.
Right. It's probably similar to the Philip's comment. It's the pie, the cake is big, and it's good for having a healthy competition.
Exactly.
Yes. I think looking at all these questions, many people were impressed with your expansion, not only being a football club. There's so many questions for that, but let's go with this one. What was the main reason you decided to cross with a wide range of entertainment and not only football?
Well, as I said before, we think that to keep growing in terms of, fans, social media followers, TV audience, and also business-wise, we need to go a little bit beyond football. And we need to attract a different audience. And so, we had to invest a lot, for example, on media, on digital. We created, the Media Factory, 50, 60 people working to create content every day for different platforms, for different countries. And we think that football is not enough. Now, there is a very thin line. We cannot be distracted by our core business, which, again, I like to stress this, is having 11 excellent players competing every Sunday or every Wednesday to win. But I think that given also the size of our fan base, global fan base, I think we can do more and better, right? And trying to be significant in other industries or entertainment categories.
Right. So tagging on to that, a question was, after expanding business, how do you describe Yuba now? Not a football club anymore?
I think that this is a journey. Of course, becoming an entertainment company is something extremely, how can I say? It's a very bold statement. So it takes time. I think that we have done a lot in the last 6-7 years, but we are not yet there. So there are a lot of things to do. And also because if we want to win this challenge globally, that's a very long way to go. But I think that the first step that we have moved are in the right direction.
Right. So you would still consider yourself as a football club?
Yes.
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 Thank you.
Yes.
This was similar to what I thought, and maybe I already asked you, but how did you manage to develop all these new businesses? For example, a hotel. It's natural to imagine that a football club wouldn't have that capability or manpower to do or expand this rapidly.
Yeah, I think it's a mix of two things, basically. One is having internal skills and knowledge. So we have been hired a lot of people in the last few years. When I joined the club 12 years ago, we were less than 90 employees. Yeah, less than 90. Now we are about 500 employees. So there is quite a difference, because we needed to find different skills and different knowledge and expertise in different fields. So one thing is creating a certain management culture internally, and the other factor is finding right partners, right business partners. Because of course, again, when it comes to hospitality, or even more to the Juventus medical healthcare, this is something that you need a very good partner, reliable partner that can help us when things come very, very vertical on certain things. So we have good partners for the Juventus College, for example. Education is also a very sensitive topic, right? So same thing for the medical as well as for the hotel. Yeah.
Right. So there's a lot of comments how cool the video was. And
Thank you.
I think that was created by a in-house creativity team, or how big is the team as you continuously create a lot of content?
Yeah, we have, as I said, we have an internal team, about 60 people creating content. So everything I've shown is created internally. From time to time, we use, for example, a specific videographer or creative people because we have special needs. But normally we do everything in a house. And that's another example of trying to be more, going towards entertainment and not just football. I have to say that we have done many different experiences. Trying to be innovative, I would like to mention the fact that Juventus has been the very first sports properties, not just football club, having an official documentary on Netflix. It was a big effort, especially not just in terms of production, but in terms of culture. European football, especially Italian football, is very conservative. It's almost impossible to get behind the scene. So once I signed personally the contract with Netflix, then I had to convince, the coach, the players, to have cameras following them day in, day out for an entire season, for 10 months. And it was a very hard job. So, but again, having such an ownership, it's facilitate trying to do disrupting things, even changing the logo. The reaction of the fans at the very beginning wasn't that good. It took a couple of months for them to adapt. Now they are super happy. But without a strong ownership, you cannot do these kind of things.
I think that means you have a strong understanding towards your brand. This question is asking, when you create those kind of videos or maybe the documentary, are you conscious of your global branding, like colors, images, things that you could show and you can't show to sustain the brand image?
Yeah, that's a very interesting topic. We have people in our office in Hong Kong that are constantly trying to educate, as my colleague said before, trying to educate the headquarters about the sensitive topics, because there is the common sense that works all the time, but now sensitive topics, especially in certain countries, are changing every day. So there are always something new that you might not able to control, and so sharing this kind of information is very, very important. But we try to be a very I don't know, respectful club. We are very much involved in many ESG initiatives, of course, inclusion, for example, equality. We have been running a lot of campaigns in this sense. And of course, when you are so much exposed, when you create content every day for many different platforms in many different countries, you can make mistakes. It happens. It happened to many sports organizations and in different countries. So fingers crossed this doesn't happen to us. We do our best, but we try to do that. Yeah.
Right. Speaking of being respectful, I think that's in sports. It's about sportsmanship. Does your club have any programs to teach kids about sportsmanship or being respectful?
Yes, this is part of, for example, our academy's programs. So kids from 4 or 5 years ago up to 11, 12. So it's not just about teaching them how to kick a ball or tactic or this kind of stuff, but is explaining them fair play, explaining them why football is such a beautiful game, respecting the opponent. These kind of things are very, very important. And I would add also how to enjoy the game, because I think that when it comes to football, there is too much pressure on kids, on children especially, and I think that they should just have to enjoy and to fall in love with football.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah,
I think
that's very important for us.
That happens globally.
Yeah.
I coach my daughter's team, but the parents are really putting stress on the kids. And
yeah, and on the coach,
even
I think
myself
also.
too.
Yeah.
So it's hard, but it's even with Juventus doing that is encouraging for a volunteer coach. Let me go. I think this was a similar question to the previous session. I remember that there was news that the women's game recorded the attendance around 40,000. What do you think about Juventus women's football, and what do you do to develop?
For us, women football is very, very important. It's a strategic asset. Again, in terms of football, but also in terms of branding and marketing, we think that our women team is a phenomenal marketing tool. We started 5 years ago. We won 5 trophies, so they are very competitive. We have been pushing a lot the Italian Federation to make women football a professional league, because before Juventus had the women team, women players in Italy weren't professional, and this has a lot of consequences. So now the whole women football movement in Italy is improving. I think that, if you look at many different statistics and figures, nowadays girls are playing football. I remember I read our internal statistic. I think that 40 or 45% of all the interaction we have on social media are produced by women. 30-something% of the attendance, people coming to the stadium, to the Allianz Stadium in Torino, are women. So, nowadays women and girls, they are playing football, watching football, interacting with football. So we think women football will be the next big thing in the sports industry.
This would be a little bit off the topic what we were talking, but you mentioned about the social media followers, and we saw a big number that follows your brand. Do you think the numbers of the social media followers reflect the sales or reflects the revenue for your club right now?
The sales, so I think nowadays, so if we talk about the B2B side of our business, and especially sponsorship, I think that this business is getting way more sophisticated than it used to be. And there are certain metrics that define the price and the value of a sponsorship of a club. And I think that, social media followers interaction, a certain digital metrics are now a good indicator about how much a club or a sponsorship deal can worth. I think so, yeah.
So that will be just one part of your metric.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I think that we, as Juventus, but I think it's in general a kind of, I don't want to say an issue, but an area of improvement for the industry, for the football clubs. We can do better, we can improve in terms of B2C, for example, conversion, in terms of selling merchandising, you know, all the funnel from social media, from 150 million, how many of those people are buying a Juventus jersey or a cap or whatever. This is something that we have to improve.
Right. And you mentioned that the partners...
I don't know if you agree. Yeah, okay.
You mentioned the partners are getting more sophisticated, and it's going to be... Probably you have to show the real value to have somebody become your partner or sponsor. Do you have like a criteria to decide your sponsor? So if you're going to go sell a sponsor, do you have a criteria on deciding who to approach?
Well, of course, one of the first things is that for us it's very, very important to give total exclusivity to our partners. So the moment one category is covered by a partner, then is impossible to be sold again. We love, of course, to work with premium partners. I can mention some names also in the luxury industry. Loro Piana is one of the top super high-end luxury brand in Italy. Hublot, for example, for the watches. I mean, many premium brands. That's very important for us. It's also important to have, of course, now I'm biased, but it's also very important to have Asian brands because you know, it means that, you know, we have a good connection with the local community, for example, and it means that we are significant also for the business community in Asia, not just for our fans. So having partners in Japan, in China, in Indonesia, in Malaysia, for us is very, very, very important. So also geographically, I think it's relevant.
So it's important to go to different countries, and I think you mentioned that each country has different culture and different ways to tackle. Do you use different KPIs for different countries depending on the maturity of the market for your brand?
Yes, it depends also on the goal. So there are countries now. This is also beyond Asia. There are countries in which we think that we are able to, let me say, pardon me for the horrible word, but monetize a country. There are countries in which we think we have to invest. Japan is the perfect example. So we have been very quiet for a few years, I have to be honest. And now, maybe before, you know, trying to make business here, we need to prove that we can do nice stuff over here. We can look after our fans, our potential partners. We can be very engaging, etc., etc. So it depends on the strategy.
Right. For the Japanese market, when acquiring the fans in Japan, what method is the best? For instance, do you think signing an Asian footballer to Juventus or big names such as Mbappe?
Mbappe, too expensive. I'm not, but no. This is very difficult to. I mean, how can I reply to that? I'm not. This is not something under my control, under my colleagues' control here in Asia. We cannot decide who to sign and who to not sign. So, of course, it would be fantastic for me, for us, having a Japanese player. But, you know, I cannot rely on this. Right. I'm sure one day it will happen. I don't know when. But I think we need to work as a brand. And we need to prove that we are a unique brand, a unique football club, that brands can have a very good return being associated with us. And this is our job.
Right.
And then if one day we will have a Japanese player, a Japanese star, then even better.
Right. I think that would be the answer to this question. The question is, what is the mission you most want Juventus to accomplish in Asian strategy? And I think what you just mentioned is the answer to.
Yeah, exactly.
Okay, I think I have time-wise, still have time. Great. Okay. Do you consider your former star players as your branding assets?
Yes, they are part of the Juventus history and heritage. Some of them, they are still very much close to the club. Some of them are officially included in our Legends program. Some of them not, but they are very, very close to the club anyway. So we have a quite vast squad of legend. You have seen in the Jakarta video Edgar Davids, for example. I think that he is a fantastic testimonial for the club, also branding-wise. Incredibly smart guy, huge Juventus fan. He told me when we were in Jakarta, we were having dinner together, and he told me that he used to be a Juventus fan before coming playing for Juventus, and he really wanted. But AC Milan signed him before, and he was desperate. And then he couldn't play very well at AC Milan, and somebody called him and saying, "Oh, hey, there is an opportunity at Juventus," and he said, I want to go, that's my dream. So those are football players that, beyond business, beyond everything, they are very attached to the Juventus family, and I think that they are very useful. And then we have, players like Roberto Baggio or Alessandro Del Piero. I have a fantastic picture I want to show you. But Alessandro Del Piero, for example, is very much loved. You know him personally. He's very much loved over here. He's our captain. He has a Juventus Academy in Los Angeles, for example. So, that's very, very important.
Right. Thank you. What is your advice for us to spread the
Op. I would like to show you the Del Piero picture. No. Sorry. Naughty boy.
Okay. What is your advice for us to spread the culture of football more widely and deeply?
The culture of football. I think football has nowadays, because of our audience, because of the audience that the football industry has, I think we have quite big responsibility. So whatever message we can convey, we have to be very, very careful, because hundreds of millions of people are watching us, kids are watching us, different culture and sensitivities. So big responsibility, but also big opportunities to try to give our small contribution to shape, a better world and a better society. So I think we have to be very blessed of this opportunity.
I asked you a question about football, now about entertainment. What factors or philosophy do you think are important for an entertainment company?
Well, guys, you are challenging.
I kept it for the last.
Yeah. So, well, I think something that has been already mentioned is being able to create a community which is really engaged. That's, I think, that is the biggest challenge that any entertainment company has. Innovation is very important. So, being innovative, being brave enough to embrace new challenges, new media, new way to communicate, and being very flexible, because the needs of the people are changing incredibly fast, and you have to be adaptable. And that's, football clubs normally are medium, small corporations, medium, small companies. So being agile is not a big problem. But if I think about the massive, entertainment corporation, this could be a little bit of a problem, I think, nowadays.
Thank you. And then this would not be a question, and I know you won't be able to answer, but I am very much looking forward to Juventus gaining presence in Japan. To that end, please sign Daichi Kamada.
Okay, no, thank you for the advice. I will let us know. I will let this know our sports director, and
It was a very robust and healthy session. Thank you for all the insights. Please give him